you add Melo, and he just kills ball movement. He's a selfish ISO player. He's one of the best one-on-one players in the history of the NBA. Like, I'm not saying the man doesn't have skills, but like the NBA is a team game. Like, look at the Warriors. They've got a lot of like very talented individual players, but they play like a team. That's why they win. Melo, I've just watched him play so much over the years, and they've got good ball movement. You pass it to Melo, and he just holds the ball. And it's like, as soon as you do that, the defenses shift, everything becomes predictable, the teammates start rolling their eyes. He's a team killer. I mean, he's got to belong in the NBA because he's so talented individually, but I don't know. I don't see his teams ever going anywhere in the playoffs.
Yeah, to me, the only way Melo gets a championship is if he goes to a team where there's already 2 or 3 other stars. To me, that's the only way it works. Even if he goes to the Rockets, I don't see them making it to the finals. It would be hard to see. I think you only have really CP3. I think CP3 is only going to be there for 1 year. I don't see CP3 signing another contract there. And in this show, it's interactive. We got an interactive chat room, so I'll do shout outs and I'll be reading some comments and stuff. But we got my man Chief Rocka. Chief Rocka is from New York. He has been on this banana boat team for a while. Possibly CP3, LeBron, D Wade, and Melo all ending up on one team. Of course, he's going to say New York because that's his squad, which at this point in time, D Wade's gone. Obviously, they haven't decided to sign him in Chicago. There's going to be a buyout possibly, but in your thoughts, do you think that could happen? You think we could see that banana boat team with all 4 of those guys on one team?
Yeah, it could happen. They'll still lose. Those guys are past their prime. I mean, LeBron's good, but D Wade's past his prime. Melo, again, I think of Melo. And who's the 4th guy?
The 4th guy, so Melo, CP3.
Oh, CP3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, like Chris Paul is still a good point guard, but I mean, he's at the end, and I don't know, like Chris Paul and LeBron on the same team. They're both ball dominant players. I just don't see it. Like the Warriors works because nobody's really ball dominant, and even KD, who can be, is like one of the most selfless superstars in the NBA. You know what I think would be a good destination for Melo is for him it would be horrible for everybody else, but he would be perfect on the Golden State Warriors as the 6th man coming off the bench, which would hurt his ego. But on that team, it's perfect because then he can get his buckets, but he doesn't interrupt the team flow. So when KD sits, Curry sits, maybe you sit Klay Thompson, and then you just bring in Melo, almost like in an Iguodala kind of way. That's where I think he'd be valuable. Now, his ego is so big, I don't think you can build a team around him. But if you turn him into like a sort of Jamal Crawford, buckets off the bench kind of guy, he could be very valuable to a team that's already got its core pieces in place.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That would be crazy. That would be bananas. Now, I think it would have to be probably in a couple of years when Melo is, because he's towards the end of his prime. I think he's still in his prime, but he's towards the end. But it would have to happen probably in a year or 2. But if that would be perfect for him. I think so.
It's perfect because that's all he wants to do is score. He doesn't want to pass.
Yeah.
So okay, fine. He'll win the 6th Man of the Year award. He'll get that. He'll be like, okay, cool. He'll light up every second unit in the NBA. There's no second unit that can guard that man. Most first units can't, but it also doesn't interrupt the team. And then it's like if you're down from you're down by 10 or something, you put Melo against their bench. Maybe you're up 5 after a few minutes. Like that's the role. He's instant offense, but he's not a defensive player. He's not a team player. So you have to use him where he's most valuable. And I think for me, that's a scorer off the bench.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now, we had a comment in the chat room here. It says, this is from Michael Bonner. He says, Toronto is actually taking steps back. He also said Boston, because I think Boston's coming out of the East. I think they have a stacked squad. Now, you think Toronto could beat Boston? That's the.
Yeah, I think Toronto could beat Boston. I don't think it's a guarantee, but I mean, like, Boston's going to be a dynasty for the next decade. I don't know if they're there yet, though. They're still quite young. They got a lot of young pieces, right? They have some good people, but they're more. It's a youth movement there. You've got some proven talent. I still think Boston's 2-3 years away from legitimately competing. And remember, with the Raptors, like, Kyle Lowry was injured during the playoffs. So you give us a healthy Kyle Lowry, you give us another year of Ibaka playing with Lowry and DeRozan, and you give all, like, the young bench and someone like Norman Powell another year to develop, we're right there. I'm not saying we take out Boston for sure, but we're right there for that number one seed in the East. And remember, Lowry also missed like 2 months in the regular season. And he's like the foundation of our entire team. So it is a good argument. I'm not going to say it's just like a stupid point. It is an intelligent point. The outcome is uncertain, but I think he's undervaluing Toronto and overrating where Boston's at right now.
Yeah. I think the biggest knock on the Raptors, which I've said probably for a while, is that they could not win the big series. They get in the series with the Cavs, and they have trouble knocking them out. I believe they were up like 3-1. So I think for them, they're going to have to win 2 series, get to the conference finals, I think, to like truly get over that hump. Because until they get over that, I'm sure it's in the back of their minds. You know, they're thinking, they're wondering, you know, this is what happened last year, this is what happened the year before. What are we going to do differently? And I think that's the toughest part for the Raptors, is getting over that hump. Okay,
well, I'll say this. If LeBron and Kyrie are in perfect harmony, we cannot beat that team in the playoffs. I'll fully admit that. The Raptors cannot beat the LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, Cleveland Cavaliers. It's not possible. But that team looks like it's done. So there is no super team in the East anymore. And I mean, I'm going to go as far as to say, I think there's like 5 teams in the West that are better than every team in the East.
5? Okay.
Well, for sure, Golden State, right? For sure, Houston. For sure, San Antonio. I even wonder, though, like with OKC, right? So now they've got Paul George with Westbrook, right? I think that team's probably better than everybody in the East. You know? So
yeah.
Then there's probably like a couple other people that I forgot about, because the West is just so deep. I mean, I think you even take whoever wins the 8th seed in the West, you put them in the conference, you put them in the NBA Finals against whoever wins the East. I think maybe the East wins, but it goes 6 or 7. I mean, the West is just so deep that,
yeah,
you know, it's a completely different situation in the Eastern Conference.
So we got a question here. Michael Bonner says, you just took last year's number 1 seed and added Gordon Hayward, Marcus Morris, and Jason Tatum, and now Toronto are better. Please tell me why.
I'm not saying that Boston's necessarily worse, but I think that Toronto was undervalued last year. We were still like 3rd, and we're 3rd, right? So this is operating under the premise that Cleveland is in trouble, right? They got to trade Kyrie, and they either rebuild or they're just not as good. So, you know, so basically it's like Boston, Toronto at number 1 and number 2 in the division, and operating under the premise that we've got a healthy Kyle Lowry. I also think that Boston has a lot of talent. Okay, Boston obviously has the most talent in the East, but you also have a lot of new people, right? There's chemistry. You still got to figure out your rotations. You've got these new guys. You got to give them minutes. The new guys are going to make mistakes. You got a lot of young players. I'm not saying that Boston doesn't beat Toronto. Maybe they do. But I don't think that it's a foregone conclusion that, just because that you add all these people, now they're a good team, right? I mean, you can't just take this is the Knicks make this mistake all the time, right? They'll just spend the money and they'll get name players. Do you remember Stephon Marbury?
Right.
I mean, do you remember when Marbury was on the Knicks and all that? The Knicks have always done that thing. It's we've got this name and this player and this player and this guy got 20 a game and this guy got 15 a game and this. It's okay, cool, but just because you got 5 guys who are starting rotation that all got 20 a game, that doesn't mean now your team's going to score 200 points a game, right? There's only one ball. So you got to spread it around. Chemistry and team dynamics are a big part of the game. That's why the Spurs, you swap their superstars out. Every year there's different people, but you got the best coach, I think, in the history of the NBA. So if you've got the right ball movement, you've got the right defensive schemes, you've got the right offensive plays, and you work together as a team, you can beat anyone. Boston's a very good team. I don't want to deride Boston, but I still think I don't know what to expect from them, and it's quite a lot of change from last season to this season. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. Yeah,
and we're talking with Bobby Del Rio at BobMan on Twitter. So one last thing before I let you go, there's a story coming out that there's 100% chance LeBron leaves. I really had to look at that and think it's no way it's 100%. Only LeBron knows that. There's whoever wrote that story. I don't know if they talked to LeBron or not, but to me, it's hard to think that there's 100% chance he's leaving. And I wanted to just get your thoughts on: do you see him leaving after next year?
Look, I don't think there's 100% chance of anything. You know what I mean? But
right.
I do think that if that situation is as bad as it sounds with Kyrie, I don't see why he stays. First of all, even with Kyrie, they still got embarrassed by Golden State. So, I don't know. LeBron wants to win championships. He kind of, he came back to Cleveland. He said he would. He won a championship for them. I feel like he kind of did what he set out to do. I think that if he left now, people would be sad, but hey, he did bring them the championship that he almost promised he did. The team's blowing up anyway. So, LeBron's got a few years left, but I think that he wants another championship. And I think that if he wants another championship, his best chance is in the West, not the East. So yeah. I wouldn't be shocked if he left.
Yeah, I think that's the same. I feel the same way. I think nothing's 100%, but LeBron did what he came to do. He came to win a championship. He did it for his city. And now, with Kyrie wanting to leave, with the ownership starting to sound different towards LeBron, that's normally a sign that he's getting ready to leave. And so it only time will tell, but I think he's gone. I think Kyrie's gone. Obviously, they're going to have to trade Kyrie for some talent and maybe for a pick or some picks. So,
what I would do is I would trade LeBron. Sounds crazy, right? I would keep Kyrie and trade LeBron James because the return would be astounding, and you can build a future around Kyrie. That guy's got 10 years left.
Right. That's true. I had somebody else come on the show and talk about that. So it's going to be interesting with this Cavs team. But, Bobby, I appreciate you so much for coming on the show. Once again, Bobby Del Rio at BobMan on Twitter. Bobby Del Rio also on pretty much all avenues of social media. So I appreciate you taking time out to come on.
Thanks for having me, brother.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, peace.
All right. All right, that was Bobby Del Rio. Appreciate him for coming on. So, man, Bobby got the chat room buzzing. So Michael Bonner says, Laugh Out Loud, got it, Chief. And I'm a Knicks fan, but they really don't have anything. Melo is out the door. honestly feel KP is going to be good